Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Supply Chain Talk. We have a beautiful topic today. It's about whistleblowing in supply chain transparency. I'm Ana Maria Velica, founder and director at Green Apple's Career, and I'm your host today. Before I invite my guests on our virtual stage, I would like to encourage you to engage with us, with my panelists, to post comments, ask questions in real time, especially if you log on the Business Reporter website, you get to experience our episode. Everything is there, the vibe, the feelings, and otherwise, if you connect with us via LinkedIn, is also good. You can post questions, and we will reply after we finalize our live episode. So. Before we get into this beautiful discussion about whistleblowing in supply chain transparency, I would like to welcome on the stage my first guest, Elisa Gustavo Antonio. Hello, Elisa. Could you please turn on your camera and mic?
Hello, Anna. How are you doing?
All good. It's good to have you on our show, Elisa. A few words about Elisa. Elisa is a commercial director at Belutecnica, and she's a skilled professional in engineering and procurement, dedicated to optimizing operations and enhancing supply chain efficiencies in Mozambique. In 2022, Elisa was recognized as one of the top 100 most influential women in supply chain in Africa. Elisa is deeply devoted to God. She finds balance through fitness and cherishes Sundays by cooking for family, blending faith, strength, and togetherness. I love it, Elisa.
Thank you.
My second guest is Martin Mirimo. Hello, Martin. If you can turn on your camera and mic.
Hello, Anna.
Hello, Martin. A few words about Martin. Martin is head of supplier relationship management at Travelodge. Martin is a thought leader who is an author of the best-selling SIPS book, Global Supply Chain Management Level 6. He's a guest lecturer at the Oxford College of Procurement in the UK and regularly publishes articles, white papers, and blogs on procurement and supply chain topics. Also, Martin is a polyglot who holds a diplôme de langue française and has a love for the south of France. Lovely. It's good to have you here, and we have 45 minutes to debate something controversial, some companies would say. Some of our speakers would say, what an interesting topic. It's a topic that needs to be tackled, which costs money, and it's about protecting whistleblowers. And before we go into the main topics, I would like to invite you and our audience, please make sure that if you connect with us via the Business Reporter website, please make sure that you open the chat box and post your questions for my guests in the chat box. We have our news item, which is ignoring whistleblowers costs government hundreds of millions of pounds, analysis finds. And this article comes with shocking 3 scandals in the recent years: the Post Office IT Horizon scandal, the Lucy Letby scandal, and the 2018 collapse of the outsourcing giant Carillon. So these 3 scandals come with a cost for the government around 426 million pounds. 426 million pounds, money that are from all of us. Could these have scandals? Could they have been prevented? Yes, with better protection for the whistleblower, with preventative actions. And I would like Elisa, to invite you to share your thoughts. What's your take on this news item?
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for having me. Yeah, whistleblowing it's crucial for the role of all the companies and all in the government too. And one of the biggest thing that we can have the big impact is loss of money. So implementing strategies like secure, secure and anonymous whistleblowers can prevent this act. So it's important to have systems in the company, system in the government, through all the process that we have in the company. So can we prevent these events that cost money to the companies, that cost money to the government, and the reputational too. So this is my
Exactly. It's not only the financial loss, it's the reputational loss. Martin, what's your take on the news item?
Yeah, for me, the news item is kind of deja vu. Is something that keeps happening time and time again. And we always say back in the UK and across the world, lessons learned, we've learned from it, but we never learned. So for me, all this is about ethics, is about the organizational value that we hold as an organization. So if the organization is safe, whether all those organizations you've just mentioned, if they do not have kind of ethical values in them, then that goes down to employee. And as you say, we lose money, the reputation is lost, and then also the people involved, human being involved, member of staff, they're affected, they live their livelihood, their reputation is damaged. And for me, I think, as Elisha said, is having that kind of ethics DNA from the top to bottom, because we don't expect your normal staff to be ethical while the top management is not ethical. So that's how I see it.
I love it. And both of you mentioned about the reputation loss, about the financial loss. And you mentioned, Martin, about the fear. You need to instill a culture where everybody feels comfortable and transparent enough to talk. Because many organizations, I worked for 3 major global organizations, and some of them struggle with using these ethical practices, and employees. And I remember back in time, also, I didn't feel comfortable enough, often fear for retribution for speaking up. So how can now, with what's going on in the world, and I would like now to enter the topic of discussion. The first one is encouraging employees to speak up about unethical practices without any fear. Elisa, what do you think about this? How can organization can create that culture of trust and transparency?
Okay, organization can create the culture of transparency and make people willing to whistleblower by implementing secure and anonymous system of whistleblowing. Here, they can provide confidential third-party reporting platforms like hotlines and online portals, and the companies can offer a multi-language support because of the global supply chains. Myself, I speak Portuguese. I'm Portuguese speaker, so English is my second language. So it's good to the companies to have all the language available for the global supply chain, because we don't have only one supplier from one local. And here, from this implementing this system, we can ensure swift and investigation reports for this point. And other things that the company can do is to establish a strong ethical culture. I see here one guest said talk about culture too, is about culture too. And this is one thing that the companies can do. They can train employees and supplier about ethics, about compliance, about whistleblowing protection, because as you said, many people and suppliers fear or hesitate to report a whistleblowing due the fear of lost job, the fear of demotion, harassment, or even a blacklisting. So implementing and establishing this strong ethical culture can enhance this act of whistleblowing and encourage communication through the employees and talk about the stigma. To speak up. We have to encourage people to speak up. And as Martin say, leadership. We have to ensure that leadership are fair, accountable for the reports that they have. So for me, we can use these two ways, that is implementing secure and anonymous whistleblowing, and establish a culture of a strong ethical culture. Yeah.
Thank you, Elisa. I hope the audience are taking notes, because this is a masterclass. So this is so much goodness in everything you've shared. You shared about digitalization and about culture and leadership, leading by example and normalizing, seeing something which is unethical and speaking up. You need to create that trust. But how do you create that trust? By leading by example. And I think this is it's so crucial, and normalize reporting unethical practices is something normal, which should be instilled in each employee. Martin, what do you think? How companies could encourage employees to speak up, to feel safe?
Yeah. I'm unfortunate. I'm just coming after after Elisa's. She said most of the stuff, but I'll probably spin it around. First of all, I said it starts with the organization itself. It needs to be, it needs to lead by those values. You will see most of organizations on their website, they'll have 5, 6 values, integrity and all this stuff on paper. So we might talk about softer stuff. I call it softer stuff. It's easy to have code of conduct here and stuff here. That's good. But in real world, do those things work? So for me, where I start from basics. We are not taught in school, any degree program or master's program, there's no module for ethics, none, zero. Yeah. So no one teaches you ethics. Yeah. So for me, it's about ongoing training. It's not something that just happens periodically or every 1 year, like anti-bribery. You go online, you do. It should be it should be ongoing thing. We should live it. We should live that value. We should live it. Secondly, is about creating that psychological safety, whereby people feel safe to speak up. People feel safe to kind of challenge bad behaviors, even among the top management. So you see your senior leadership person doing something wrong, you challenge them. And then also, I could go extreme. So I've worked in bigger project, kind of mega projects, whereby you have maybe thousands and thousands of people and big supply chain. So big organizations, sometimes they could do a lot because they have resources, but the supply chain downstream do not have a lot of resources. They don't know even some of these things. How can we influence the lower supply chain? For example, we could have programs whereby we use our value, we teach them. And within the organization, what we could do, some organizations have ethics and compliance department that leads that as a full-fledged organization. It's not just some consultant come in and they go. It should be something actively led internally.
I love it, Martin, and especially ethical education that should start very early on. And I think none of us in this call benefited from any ethical classes apart from the ones that moms and dad gave it to me because they were one of their value was integrity and speaking up with courage. We have a comment which I would like to read out from Sheldon Meyer, saying ongoing and instill behavior, it's must. Ongoing and instill behavior, it's must be leadership held accountable for the ongoing review and audit of this aspect. How do you police such a thing? How do you ensure people don't feel threatened? And then checked ongoing so that whistleblowing is not lost over time. Elisa, what do you think?
As Martin said, this thing about ethicals, about ensuring that we can speak up, we have to do refreshment time to time. We have to train people when to advise people that they are secure to talk by implementing a channel that we can prevent the people, we can give the people assurance that their name are secure, or their report will be secure with them and will be a report about it. We can ensure that everyone can speak up and everyone can denounce the misbehavior. So it's time to time refreshment that the companies have to do, that the company have to take with the employees. It's like training. So because of we don't talk a lot about it, and we see this thing in many organizations. We can do it from 3 to 3 months or 6 to 6 months to ensure that everyone, even the new employees or the new customers, the new suppliers, are aware about this system, aware that they can talk, they can speak up about everything or misbehave that they are seeing in the company.
Thank you, Elisa. And I remember back in my time when I encouraged my team to speak up because I was born with courage. Not everyone is courageous. And I was empowering my team to speak up and to use channels to speak up, to report unethical behaviors. And I was, one of my team members told me, Anna, I reported it, but nothing has changed. And this goes into a different area. When people report, you have the systems, you have the leadership, you have the trainings, and people reports, but still they don't see a change. See that matter or behavior corrected, investigated upon. So how cultivating a culture of accountability, because you report, but you need to see people being held accountable. How cultivating a culture of accountability can strengthen relationships across the supply chain, because we talk about supply chain transparency and some of the unethical practices like modern slavery being reported or being reported. How can we instill that culture of accountability, Martin? What do you think?
So I'll speak here as someone who has worked in a kind of big organization with overstretched supply chain, especially in sectors like construction, where you have a lot of workers, all sorts of workers. And what I've seen works best is for making ethical practices or encouraging people by kind of making it normalizing this issue of ethical reporting, psychological safety. And this happens in a way that, for example, before every meeting, we would have ethical dilemma situation, and people will talk about things freely, and it's ongoing thing. And then also there's anonymous reporting, but also third-party reporting. So if you're not comfortable reporting, you can anonymously do it to a third-party organization. But I'll go one step ahead, yeah, and say, recommend, if organizations can have these CPDs and the continuous performance reviews and quarterly and whatever, why can't they have as well same approach? Yeah, when they are talking to you on quarterly basis, they could ask you, do you have a concern as part of ethical issues to raise? Yeah, and it will be normalized. People will feel it's normal. And also with our supply chain, we do the same thing. So for our supply chain, if employers of a lower tier think they have modern slavery issues and their organization is not doing anything, they can report it to the client. Because if I'm the big client paying a low supplier who has modern slavery, I should be able to investigate that. So we could create channels that are above what we have.
Yeah, one thing that the companies or the customers can do to the suppliers is to do the regular risk assessments to the suppliers. This is one thing, audits to the supplier. This is one thing that we can verify if everyone that we work with, it's compliant to work with us or no. If we are an ethical company, we would like to work with other companies that are ethical. And one thing that we can do to prevent this is to do the risk assessment or do audits to the suppliers. Through this way, we can prevent this misbehave or misconduct with suppliers that we work with.
I love it. Very practical examples from both of you. I would add companies can also implement standards for the upstream supply chain, holding suppliers accountable to a certain standard, and actually defining the standard. You, dear supplier, you need to make sure that you comply with our standard. This is the minimum requirement. This is the critical failure. This is ideal. You make sure that you have a line and a policy for your employees to speak up. So I think also companies, especially big corporations, they need to implement those standards to ask the suppliers to implement certain standards in order to hold them accountable and to educate them. And anything else to add, Martin? Any example?
Yeah. So Anna, I agree with you about the standards, and already most organizations do that, as I said, as a tick box exercise. So they're already doing that. The problem I have is they'll do it on day one, and what happens the rest of the year? Yeah, who reviews this? Who monitors this proactively? That's actually happening. Yeah, who has ownership? So for me, ethics, as I said, no one teaches in school, no one teaches in the university. We have a problem, and it's something new to people in workplaces. So we should accept that is a work in progress, and no single organization can work alone. So we need to tap in. So for example, you will have accountants, you will have supply chain managers and IT managers. We should go out there across the board, meaning, for example, your supply chain managers, they belong, in the UK, they belong to Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply. In the US, they belong to Institute of Supply Management. Can we work jointly with those institutions that the code of conduct, if someone is unethical, they run a risk to be struck off that register, for example? Yeah. And also, can we influence some of the curriculum some of them, they include ethical practices in some of the curriculum, but can we influence more and more of it? So it's something that we can work as a group going forward. Yeah, because you could be ethical a little bit in your organization. As soon as you leave the organization, the door, you meet the supplier in a restaurant, you become unethical. So,
and
yeah.
I love your example because it's about partnering with governmental, with certified bodies in order, because we are stronger together. And this is actually walking the talk, Martin, because yes, and this is very much linked to a question we have from Sheldon. I think you are a good contender for winning the Supply Chain Talk mug. How do you audit these types of compliances? I would say there are third parties, supply chain transparency portals, and they have party auditors such as this and SEDEX. From your experience, Elisa, how do you audit these type of non-compliances, unethical behaviors that are being whistleblowed?
Okay. As a company, we have a list of everything that we need from a supplier. So regarding to ethical, regarding to how they manage their employees, if we have employees below of the age that they have to work, we have certain things that the supplier may meet. So what we do is to once a year, we go to the key suppliers, the suppliers that we have more transitions with, and we do the audit. We plan a week that we go to the suppliers and we do the audit in order to fill all the gaps all the list that we have to comply with us. So this is this way that we use to audit our suppliers. Yeah.
And we have another comment saying perhaps we need an ISO for whistleblowing. Definitely, we need a reform because otherwise, I think if you don't take it seriously, if you don't investigate and hold people accountable, you end up in a scandal like this article talks about, and you end up in paying, jeopardizing even the company, the reputation of a brand, so on and so forth. So I think the cost can be, depending on the industry, can be huge. I worked as a supply chain head in the baby infant formula. So you can imagine any unethical practice that could have been reported meant babies' lives. So some industries are critical, food and beverage. So definitely, I think leaders, they really need to take this into seriously. And as you said, both of you, they need to lead by example. They need to come forward and say, look, 10 years ago, we had this, it costed us this much. And please, take this into seriously, make this the trainings make them mandatory, but also speak about it, normalizing and show your teams that it's really important, whistleblowing, and you don't tolerate unethical practices. Mitigating reputational risks through ethical supply chain. So how do we mitigate reputational risk? And you talked about, Elisa, about risk assessment and audit, but how do we mitigate the risk? Any examples, anything to add, Martin?
So for me, the biggest one is being proactive. So like the examples in that article, the article you are reading, the telltale signs, the signs that things were not going the right direction, and people involved or people who are reporting these things were ignored. So for me, is about proactive risk management, whereby we try to address those problems or potential problems before they become big. Once they're big elephant, it's so difficult to control them. Yeah. And number two is also to identify to identify and address some of the small issues that goes around, and try to have a plan, a mitigation plan. Like, can we have an early engagement about it? Is it an issue of education? So that's one. Within our supply chain as well, again, is something you did say, and Alicia also said, though, we do this, we do that. That's fine. But can we proactively do it? So we could be doing all the SEDEX and Equivadis with our critical and strategic suppliers. Yeah, but are we doing it a one-off, or are we kind of proactively doing it even before a problem comes? Because we should be in a position to anticipate a problem. So for example, I'll give you an example. If all of a sudden the suppliers you are working with, you see half of the directors are resigning and a big staff turnover, that should give you an alarm bell, what's going on. So we should proactively work before things happen.
Amazing, Martin.
Yeah.
I have so many examples in my mind as well. Elisa, I have a question for you from Corina, who posted this question on LinkedIn. Can the guest share an example from their experience where whistleblowing within an organization led to meaningful change? Elisa, do you have anything in mind?
Sorry, I didn't get the last phrase.
Where can you share an example from your experience, or if you heard of a whistleblowing example within an organization that led to meaningful change?
Okay, actually, I have 3 case studies with scandal that happened with manufacturing and automotive supply chain. I don't know if I can mention the name, but this is public, so you can search before after this session to read more about. But the one case of study is about Volkswagen emission scandal. What happened in 2015? An internal whistleblower and illegal software in diesel vehicles. So this software was to cheat the emission of the emission of the gases. So the impact.
I think you are breaking up a
These
bit.
whistleblowing billions of dollars. Yeah, they have to pay $30 billion to fine and settlements. So the key lesson of these case studies is to we have we never know how a misbehave or misconduct can affect the company. We thought that this is nothing, but they cost the company reputation and they cost the company billions of dollars. So this is one of the case studies that we have about that impact financially and the reputation of the company. The second case study is about the Tesla and unsafe working condition. In 2020, a whistleblower was reported about unsafe working condition and labor. So labor right and right violation the employees. So what happened? This create an workforce safety policies. They have to create safety policies, and Tesla had to improve what's safe. So the lesson here is that when we listen about whistleblowing, we have to care about and we have to work about it. So Yeah,
Mhm.
this is the
Thank
two case studies that I have
This is
that is public. Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you, Elisa. This is shocking. Volkswagen and Tesla public domain. I think a few months ago, I also hosted supply chain talk about modern slavery, and we started with a public news item about two big UK retailers and McDonald's facing with modern slavery, and the article was actually challenging for such big entities, companies, for
Yeah,
so long. They have such a beautiful, such a good structure, and they couldn't have prevented, they couldn't have accommodated a whistleblowing in terms of modern slavery. And it's a big, I think you can go back to via Business Report, that you can listen to that shocking and beautiful supply chain talk. Anything, Martin, any example from your experience?
So from my experience, probably without naming names, so it's not something that happened out there in the media, but something that happened probably in some of the projects or organizations I've worked in. And as I said, especially in mega projects or construction, you tend to have a big supply chain, a number of workers, and some of these workers are outsourced. So the supplier also outsourced to another supplier, and then the big chain of it. And sometimes it feels like some of there are cases, you could feel like there could be cases of modern slavery or people being forced to work against their will. So the supervisors and everyone was trained to spot out the telltale signs. So for example, they haven't changed their clothes for a week and they never go home and all this. So because the supervisors have been enforced, have been empowered to make this observation and to make these reports to ethics team, then the analysis of those reports actually identified a number of people who are working under kind of forced labor. Yeah, so this is a true story that happened, but that was because the supervisor had been trained, telltale signs. Why is this person not always going home? Why are they always sitting alone at the corner and whatever? So those conversations opened up a lot of things that could have been missed.
Thank you, Martin.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of learnings, and we have comments. Sheldon, thank you so much for sharing with our audience so many good sources of unethical practices, of whistleblowing instances, and definitely this is the Supply Chain Talk mug goes to you. Congratulations. Thank you for your comment and for engaging with us. Before we, because time flies quickly, especially on such a critical, crucial topic for the days we are living in, I would like to invite you, Elisa and Martin, to share with our audience one closing thought, because it's such a broad, it's such a important topic. If you are to mention, to ask the leaders in this call for one thing to take away, what would you tell them, Elisa?
Okay. One takeaway is to make sure that your behavior can impact a whole supply chain. So you need to pay attention, like a safety. When in a safety, we say that when we pay attention in our work safely, we are paying attention of we are caring of our life and the life of our colleagues that are around us. So when you pay pay attention on whistleblowing, and you know the importance of whistleblowing or the misbehave, you tend to protect yourself and you protect the organization, your employees, the whole supply chain. So it's important to ensure that creating a safe and transparent environment for our whistleblowing, you can protect your business, you can protect your company, you can protect the whole supply chain. So this is my takeaway: to speak up and to talk about it more and more. As with your colleagues, with your superiors, leadership, where you are, you can do the difference.
Thank you, Elisa, leading by example. Martin, one closing thought for the audience, please.
Yeah, so for me, just to add on to what Elisha has said, would be to continue creating psychological safety spaces where people feel safe to speak up, and to make this ethical journey is work in progress. No one has all the answers. We need to encourage learning. We need to put budgets aside. We don't need to hide, we don't need to make ethics as a wing of or something that just happens once in a while. It needs to be either a department or part of visible function with a bit of leadership. If they have a seat in the organizational chart, people will respect it. If they don't, people just think those are just fads, like you know, the way we do for Christmas. Christian, we have Jumpers Day and the Secret Santa, and then you forget about it, and then you do it another year and stuff like that. Yeah.
Thank you, Martin. From my side, I would invite all leaders, and we have negative examples in real time, breaking news, and we see non-ethical behaviors in real time. I would invite the leaders in supply chain, simple like that, write a call to action, expose the wrong, empower the right, and with 3 diligent action everywhere in the toilets, everywhere from the entry to everywhere. We protect you. Speak up, we protect you. Our culture is we value honesty and we investigate and correct. If you keep repeating this call to action and you are being serious, everything can be ethical and transparent. Thank you so much. It's a masterclass. It's a lovely topic. We are the 3 of us global citizens with decades of experience. Thank you. I would love to have you back on my show. Thank you to our producer for coming up with such a beautiful topic. I would like our audience to take away this masterclass and to dial in the same time Wednesday next week. My colleague Alistair will host a beautiful topic, the future of AI in supply chain, from hype to impact. Till April, I wish you all the best and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
It was a pleasure.
Bye.